So build a very simple password generator using React.js. Now here's the deal. You can actually use this beautiful UI to generate a password. Now we have nothing. If I click on include uppercase, you can see that we have a 16 character uppercase password. If I add lowercase, you can see we have a combined lowercase and uppercase, and the strength is medium. Include numbers. Now we have numbers as well, and include symbols. Now we have a fully strong password for ourselves. Now you can actually add to the characters of the password, and you can also copy the password into the clipboard. So it's a very simple and straight app. Let's begin. All right, so first things first, let's create our React app. npm create with latest. We're going to create the app in the root directory. Let's choose React, and we're going to choose JavaScript. So use with 8 beta no, and install with npm and start now, choose no. So we have our React code, React files right here, and then for installing node modules file, let's run npm install and wait. Perfect. Now I want to run my project on port 3000, so let's go to vidconfig.js, and here in this block, let's add a server, and inside that, I'm gonna write port, and I'm gonna type 3000. So this way I run my project on port 3000. Now if I type npm run dev, you can see that my project is running on port number 3000. So let's check it out. Well, perfect. Now you can see that my React project is running. So the first thing we need to do is to create our UI, but before that, there are some packages we need to install because we're using Tailwind CSS. So let's, I'm gonna stop the project. Let's go to Tailwind website. So I'm gonna go to, just type Tailwind and vid. So using that keyword, you can go to this link, Tailwind CSS, and here there are the required commands we need to use to install vid for our project. So I'm gonna copy this one, and let's run it inside our terminal. Enter. Perfect. Now we have installed Tailwind CSS for vid. Now the next step we need to take is to copy these 2 lines of codes inside our vidconfig.js. So I'm gonna copy this line, and let's go to config, vidconfig.js. Let's paste it right here. And also I need this Tailwind CSS inside this plugins. I'm going to paste it. Perfect. Now the next step is to copy this import Tailwind CSS and paste it inside our, let's go to src folder. Let's open index.css and erase everything and paste it right here. So now if I go to my app.jsx, what I need to do is to erase everything. You can create your component using RAFCE snippets. And then here, let's create an h1 and say hello React. That's it, and then save. Let's erase this app.css because we don't need it. Let's erase this assets folder, we don't need it as well. Now if I npm run dev again, let's check it out. If I refresh, you can see that hello React is right there. Now let's test the Tailwind CSS. Let's say class name text 8xl. Now, yeah, so it's working perfectly. Very good. Now we can actually start creating the UI of our project. So to do that, let's erase this h1 And to this div, which is actually the container div, we're gonna create a mean height screen and a BG gray 950, so the background color is dark. And also we need a flex in items center, and also we need a px4. So this is the way we actually design our container. Now inside that, let's create another div. To that div, we give it a class name of BG gray 900, also a text gray of 200, and let's give it a width of full and a max width of MD, and let's give it a padding of 6 and a rounded of 2XL. Let's give it a shadow of XL and a border gray 800. Yeah, so this is our container actually, the password generator container. So now inside that, let's go for the H1, which is the title, and let's write the password generator. Very good. Now I think I missed something here. Oh, sorry. To this container, I actually entered item center, but I forgot the justify center. So using justify center, you actually put your container at the center of your project. Now to this H1, let's give it a class name of text 2XL and a font bold and a text center and MB6. Very good. Now under that H1, we're going to create a password display. So for that, we're going to use a div. This div is going to have a class name of flex and MB4. Inside that div, we're going to create an input. And this input, let's give it a type text. The type text should be there. Let's create a placeholder. The placeholder should be generated password. And also, let's give it a class name of flex1 BG gray 800 and a border. Give it a border and a border gray 700 and a rounded LG and a px4 and a py2. Let's focus, outline none. Let's focus, ring 2, and let's focus ring indigo 500. So now we have actually our first input here, generated password. So we know that this input should be read-only because we want to show the generated password right here. So just use the attribute of read-only on this. So you, in this way, you actually cannot type anything inside that generated password input. Now under that input, let's create a button. The button should have the copy name, and the button should have the class name of BG indigo 600 and a hover of BG indigo 700 and a px4 and a rounded RLG and also a transition. So yeah, very good. This is the way that we actually wanted it to be. So this div is now finished. Now let's go for another section, which is the password length. So I'm going to comment here, password length. Now inside that, we're going to create a div. This div should have a class name of MB4, that would be enough. And inside that div, let's create a label. This label just erase HTML4. This label should have a class name of block and an MB2 text SM and text SM. Small means font, medium. Now we're gonna say password length. This is it. Now under that label, let's create an input. And that input should actually have the type of range, like this. So this actually should have a min attribute of min of 6 and a max of 32. And the class name to this input should be with full accent indigo 600. This is it. This is going to show our password strength, sorry. And that's all. Now this div is as well finished. So let's just take a look at the structure. So this is the password display. I'm going to close it. This is the password length. I'm going to close it. Now after that, let's go for the options. This is actually the most important part, and the panel actually to our project. So it's going to be options. Under that, let's create a div, and this div should have a class name of space y3 and an MB6. Now inside that div, let's create a label. This label, let's erase HTML4. Let's give it a class name of flex items, center, and justify between, and a cursor pointer. Yeah. Now inside that label, let's create a span, and let's say include upper case. And now we're going to give it an input, and this input should not be type text, it should be checkbox. Let's give it a class name of accent indigo 600. Now let's take a look to see what we have done. This is actually the include uppercase. Now if I click on this, you can see that the color is indigo 600. Very good. Now we should actually, so this is actually the label, as you can see. Now what I'm gonna do here is to copy and paste this label again. Now I want to change some things here. The thing I want to change is, instead of include uppercase, I want to write include lowercase. Let's copy and paste it again. Now include numbers, and the last one should be actually include symbols. Let's take a look. Perfect. Very good. Now this options block is done as well. I'm going to close it. Now the last part of the project is going to be generate button. This is the button. This is the generate button. When we click on this, it should actually generate a password. So let's create a button. This button should be generate password. Yeah, this is the button. So let's give it a class name of with full and a BG indigo 600. Let's give it a hover BG indigo 700. Let's give it a PY padding from top and bottom 2. It's going to be rounded. It's going to have a border radius LG large and a font semi-bold and also a transition. So this is now our button. How about giving a cursor pointer? Yeah. Perfect. So now the UI of our project is done. Now what we need to do is so actually, as you can see, we have in our application, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 main blocks, and there's a title right here. Let me give it as well a comment. This is the title. This is the password display, which is this part. This is the password length, which is actually this bar. And also we have password options, which are actually the options we're going to choose for our strength of our password. Now this is the button we use to generate a new password. So the UI is completely done. Now we can actually start our React logic. All right, so first things first, let's erase this import React from React because we don't need it. And let's import instead the useState and useEffect hook. And inside the app block function, I am going to start writing my useState lines. So the first one is going to be length, set length, and I'm going to set it to useState, and by default, I'm going to give it a number of 16. So this length is going to have a default number of 16, and this is definitely a number. Now the next useState is include upper, which is going to check if the password includes uppercase. Set include upper, and we're going to actually set it to useState, and it's a boolean, and by default I'm going to give it a true. Now the next one should be include lower, and set include lower, and it's going to be equal to useState, and also it's going to be true by default, and it's a boolean, not true. The next one is const include numbers and set include numbers. Let's set it to useState, and let's set it to true. So now, as you can see, include upper, include lower, and include numbers is going to check if the password includes uppercase, include lowercase, and includes numbers. Now we need the symbols. So let's go for const include symbols, set include symbols. You know how the React works. You need to actually, so you start actually lowercase, but each word that is finished, you need to start the new one with an uppercase. It's equal to useState, and we're going to give it a false value by default. This is also a boolean. Let's give it a const password and set password, and let's give it to useState, and by default it's going to be an empty string. The password by default is an empty string. Now let's give it a const copied, which is going to check if the password is copied by the user, and set copied, and we're gonna set it to useState, and it's going to be a boolean as well, and it's going to be false by default. So that's it. These are our useState lines. Now for the next section, we're going to tell React what include upper means, what include lower and number and symbols mean. So we say const upper chars, which means characters. It's gonna be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Let's check. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Perfect. So this is the alphabet. So the uppercase is going to contain all of these uppercase alphabetical characters. And the next one is going to be lower chars. We're going to do the same, but lowercase. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I, IJKLMNOPQRSTUVWXYZ. So this is going to be the whole, I hope I didn't make any mistakes, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Yeah. Const numbers, number chars is going to start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that's it. And the const symbols are going to actually contain this, percentage, this, and also ampersand, asterisk, parentheses, underline, plus, curly braces, and that's a question mark. That's it. So this is gonna be our symbols. Now, the next block is actually a function called const generate password. It's gonna be an arrow function. Now inside that block, we're gonna define a variable which is called let chars, and here we're gonna set it by default to an empty string. Now we say if the chars include upper, you should say chars plus equal to upper chars. So what it means is that if this variable, which is an empty string by default, if it include uppercase, if it doesn't actually, if we check it, the chars variable should have these upper chars, and that's it. Now we're going to do the same for the other ones. So we say if include lower, we're going to use lower chars. If it include numbers, so you can say that they are coming from here. If they are right there, you're going to add one of these. You're going to add one of these, one character inside this string. It's going to do it actually randomly. So next one is going to be number. Include number. Oh, yo, sorry, numbers. Yeah, numbers. And this is going to be upper. Sorry, not upper, number chars. The one I actually wrote here. Let me copy and paste it. It's going to be much easier. And the last one includes symbols. Let me copy from here. If it includes symbols, you can just get it from here. Sorry, I wrote here symbols. I actually needed to write symbol chars, and you need to get it from symbol chars, which is actually one of these signs. Now, here we have our generate password function. So the generate password function knows that this variable should contain either of these characters if we actually tell the application I want uppercase characters, I want lowercase characters, and so on. So we say if there is no, under that block of generate password, we say if there is no chars, you should set password to an empty string because there's no characters and return. So you actually are doing nothing. So, oh, sorry, this this block should be actually written inside the function. What I did, this block of if, because actually this we actually created this variable inside the function, and inside that function we're going to define if there's no chars, the password should be just equal to an empty string, and that's it. Now, after this if block, we're going to create another variable called let generated. It's going to be also set to an empty, assigned to an empty string. So we're going to write a for cycle here. We say let I is equal to 0. So by default it is 0 as long as I is less than the length. So which is this one, which is by default 16. As long if it's less than length, you need to actually add 1 to the I, and we're going to go for generated plus equal to chars. Now we're going to use our JavaScript methods, math.floor. Inside that, let's say math.random, and we're going to make it in chars. chars dot length, and that's it. Now this for loop actually creates, sorry, chars, not car, cards. These typo mistakes always happen when I type so quickly. So let's set password, which is this one, which is this useState, to the generated password, which we actually created right here. Now we need to actually load whatever we're doing to this password input. Now to do that, we need actually, what do we need? We need a useState, all right? Sorry, useEffect, my mistake. Under that under that block password generated, under this, let me close it, or let it be open. Under that, I am going to create a useEffect, and inside that useEffect block, I'm going to write a generate password, and then inside that, as a here inside an array, I'm going to put the length and include upper, include lower, and include numbers, and whatever we have is actually include symbols. Include symbols. That's it. Now here I think our useEffect is now, yeah, that is all we need here for our useEffect. Now under that, let's create a block of function to make our user be able to copy the password, the generated password, into the clipboard. Now let's say const copy to clipboard. I hope I have no dictate mistakes. So this is going to be an arrow function. So if there's no password, you just have to return because there's nothing to copy. Let's use navigator, and let's write clipboard here, write text, and here we're going to use the password, because what we need to copy, the password, and that's it. Now here we have a copied and set copied, so we need to set copied, which is by default false, to true. And also let's set timeout, because I don't want it to stay copied. Set copied to false again, but after 1500 milliseconds, which is a second and a half. Or you can say 2 seconds. I don't know, 2000 milliseconds, which means actually 2 seconds. So let's check it out. We have our useState lines. We have our type of characters. We have the block of generate password. And also we have the useEffect to load the UI as the user is working with the mini application. And here we have a block of function which actually works when the user click on copy and tries to copy the password. So now there's one important block to assign to this password length. We need to actually realize how strong our password is. Now to do that, let's create another function here. Let's say const get strength and get strength, and let's make it an arrow function. We say let's score, which by default is 0. So by default, the strength of password is 0, the weakest type. Now if we say if the password includes upper, you should actually add to this score. So the password is actually stronger. Now if let me copy and paste it. If the password contains lowercase, so the score should be added again. If the password includes numbers, so you should add to the score again. And if the password actually contains symbols, you should add to the score. So this 0 actually gets added to whenever the user chooses to add uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and symbols to the password. And also, let's just talk about the length of the password, because the password can be, I don't know, 6 characters, or I don't know, 32 characters, and so on. So let's say if the length of password is less or equal to 16, sorry, I said less. If the length of password is greater or equal to 16, you just need to score plus plus. So add to the score as well. Now, we need a conditional line here. If the score is less or equal to 2, return. Now, we need a text here. Let's let the text be weak, because the password is weak. If the score is to 2, we're actually setting numbers to score. If this 0 is 2, the text should be weak, the text we're showing. Now the color should be BG red 500, and the width of our input should be 33%. Inside string, should write it, yeah. Now this one should be 33 like this, okay? The color of this bar should be red, and it should write weak. But if the score is less or equal to 4, you should return. Now the text should be medium. The color should be BG yellow 500, and the sorry, I made a mistake. Inside that I should write it. The color should be BG yellow 500, and the width, let's make it 66%. And that's it. So if otherwise or else, let's say you don't have to write else, you just return again text. Otherwise means if the score is more than 4, So we're going to actually give it a text of strong. And sorry, I made another mistake. This medium should be inside the string. Medium. I think you know that. This should be strong. The color should be BG green and 500, and the width should be 100%. Now, I think we are pretty much done. And now what we need to do is to say const strength is equal to get strength. Now, we actually put this function strength. Sorry, I think I have a typo here. Wait, let's say return, and under that we need a const strength. Yeah, get strength function. We actually call the function outside in the global scope, and that's it. Now, this form doesn't do anything because whatever we have written is not yet connected to this form. Now it's time to connect everything to this form. Now let's do that. All right, to do that, first things first, let's go to this password display, and we need this input to be manipulated. What we need to do is under read only, or let's say under type, I am going to put a value, and the value should be password. Yeah, so you can see that there's a generated password right here, and but it doesn't work. These checkboxes don't work. Let's just continue and move on. This button, on click, it should actually copy the password. So which function actually handles that? The copy to clipboard function. I'm going to copy this. Let's go to this button, and let me close this one. So this button, I'm going to actually give it a on click attribute, on click, and inside that I'm going to copy this copy to clipboard. And I think, yeah, something else we need to do. This is actually hard-coded copy. I want, when I click on this, it should actually change itself to copied, like this, copied, and then it should return to copy again after 2000 milliseconds, after 2 seconds, because I actually set it to. So let's do that as well. I'm gonna open and close curly braces. I say if copied is equal to true, you should actually show copied. Otherwise, you should show copy, like this. So if I click on this, you can see it's copied, but after 2 seconds, it's gonna go back to copy again. See that? Very good. And let me close this password display because we are pretty much done with this one. Now let's go to password length right here. Yeah. So what do we have here? We have actually a, let me check, what do we have here? Password length, and you know what? Let me close this one here, and there's something else I want to add to our UI of our project. Here, up above the password length, let's create another comment. I want to write a strength indicator. And here, I want to create a div with the class name of MB4. And now I want another div with the class name of H2 and a BG gray 800 and a rounded. So now inside that div, I'm going to create another div. That div should have the class name of, here we actually need a dynamic class name. So I'm going to open and close curly braces. I want to say H2 actually is going to be there forever. So the rounded should be actually there forever. But now the strength dot color is the color that actually chooses when to turn red, when to turn yellow, and when to turn green. Now I'm going to add a style attribute here, style attribute, and this style attribute should be also with the strength dot width. All right. Now let me see, we have now, yeah, under that div right here, under, so we have actually this div, this is the container, this is the first div, this is the second div. Now under this div, you can actually put a p tag, and this p tag is going to have the class name of text sm and mt1. Now inside that, I am going to open and close curly braces. Now the strength dot text is going to be dynamic according to the password password strength. Now here I have medium. You can see that this is yellow, and let's say that, so you remember that I told it the text should be weak. If it is so, the text should be medium. If it is, I don't know, less or equal to 4, and otherwise it should be strong. The colors are here obvious, and the percentage is actually the percentage of this bar here. So now let me close this strength indicator. Now let's go for password length. Here I have a type range. Under that I have min 6 and max 32. Now let's give it a value of length, because this is the length of password. Now on change, what I want to do, I'm going to add an event. Sorry. I'm going to add an event. And here I say set length. And it should be e.target.value, which is actually the target value that we get from this input bar. So if I actually make it less, you can see that we have less characters. If I actually increase it, you can see that the characters are added, and the characters are actually added, but all of them, they are just characters, alphabetical and numbers. So we're going to actually make it so we can choose actually which character to add, and we're going to do it in a few minutes. So I think we are done with the password length. Now let's just close it. Let's go to the options. Now the options here, as you can see, we have actually the first input, which is the uppercase. Now for the first one, let's go for the type, which is the checkbox. The class name should be the same. And let's go for on change. And the on change should be, let's open a method here. And here we say set include upper. And we say include upper. No, sorry, include upper, like this. Yeah. So this is going to actually toggle the include upper. So if I click on this, it should actually, let me just finish all of them all together. So the next one, let me copy and paste because we don't want to spend much time. Oh, sorry. And there's something else. We need a checked attribute. Include upper should be also there. So now let me copy and paste this one to this input. And let me copy and paste this one to the lowercase input. And this one should be include lower instead of upper. This one should be include lower instead of upper. Now I'm gonna copy and paste this one right here. Copy and paste is checked right here. Now include lower, this is the numbers, so it should be include numbers, and it also should be include numbers. Now the last one, which is actually include symbols, I'm going to put it right here. So include numbers should be include symbols. Include symbols. This one should be as well include symbols. I think I did something wrong. Oh, sorry. The problem, I actually forgot to do something. All of them are set include upper, so it should be set include lower. This should be set include numbers, and this should be set include symbols. So now let me uncheck. So you can see that I actually unchecked all of them, so I have no passwords here, as you can see. Now if I check the uppercase, I have a password with all the characters uppercase. Now if I include lowercase as well, you can see that I have a password combining of uppercase and lowercase together. Now if I add numbers, you can see that I have also numbers inside my password, and the password turns from weak to medium. So, but it's not the strongest way. But if I include some symbols, it is perfect. But I actually, this is a strong, but I think the number, why the number doesn't work? Let's go to definitely the oh, sorry, I said green. Yeah, now you can see that the password is strong, and the bar is now green. There's one thing else I want to do. I actually forgot to do. I want to show the length of password, because here we have no numbers in front of password length. So let me go here, the password indicator. Now inside, so where is, oh no, sorry, not indicator, the password length. Here we have got a password length, and now let me give it a colon, and inside, in front of that, I'm going to write the length. So here we actually have the number of characters that we have. So now it's 16. So let's remove all of them. Now, if I have a password with all the formats, uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and symbols, and it is at least 16 characters, I have actually a strong password. I can simply make it, I don't know, 25 characters. And if it is less than 16, it's going to be medium. So you know what factors do you need in order to have a very strong password. Now let's say 20 characters and all of these items included. So you can copy the password and let's test. Yeah, so you can see that the password is copied into clipboard. If you have no password, this copy doesn't work, because if you remember, we told the copy to clipboard, if there's no password, you should just return. And that is the reason that with no password, this copy button does not work. But as soon as you have something to copy, it works. Yeah, that was it. Thank you guys for watching the video, and I hope it was useful for you. It was. Please subscribe my channel and drop me a comment. It doesn't matter if it is actually negative or positive. Positive, it would make me happier. Negative, it would actually make my work definitely better. Thank you so much.